You are live.
Good morning, y'all. Today is one of our occasional Q&A times. And this is the chance for those of you who are not in a group or seeing me on a regular basis to ask odd anonymous questions, what you've always wondered about Dharma and never quite had the opportunity or the guts to ask. This will be anonymous. Nobody knows who's asking. We do vet the questions, so if you get too far off the wall, you might not get asked. If you get too long-winded or you don't make sense, your question might not get asked. So start thinking of what you want to know while we begin. And you put those up in chat and we will have access to them. Chuku kunduzong pogong poyi dorji sempa garab dorji dang shire singe bardushin labde dedam abzan tata tusum chi Dzogchen jupe lama la solo de Ergin Pema Junila Solua Deb Dorji Chang Titilo Narudang Marpa Mila Gompo Tsatsapa Na Pupadang Palden Drupa Suk Kargula Manamla Solua Deb Ochen lama namla solo deb Druchen lama namla solo deb Kaginwari lama namla solo deb Shakya lama namla solo Deb Nyandu Dang Yundrun Lama Namla Solo Deb Palkwandu Zhong Dang Yerme Pa Gon Garab Dorji Jin Trak Pa Jeti Dang Nisume Pai Alamanam Che Tente So, Nyando, do we have anything to start?
Yes. One question is it possible to find you in India this year?
Maybe. You know, plans are funny things. I have a plan to go to India for Losar, but will that really happen? Wait and see. Maybe. However, be aware that my time in India is mostly spent with my Tibetan students, not as much time with the Western students. So you might find me there for an hour or so with a bunch of people in a tea shop. But you're not going to really get that much time to spend with me if you come out to India. Conversely, you'll get plenty of time to spend with India. Next question.
You said that having different gurus is fine, but what about practicing Dzogchen alongside practices from different religions?
This is going to depend a lot on which religions. For example, Dzogchen does not worship a god. Buddha is not a god. The archetypes and the yidams are not gods, as God is generally perceived in monotheistic religions. So it might be difficult to subscribe to monotheism while practicing Dzogchen. That said, I have a few students who seem to be managing it. I'm not sure quite how they're doing it, but it seems to work for them. You will have to hold your God concept with a great deal of looseness and very differently than the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran seem to refer to it, at least in my readings of them. I have not read the Quran in the original Arabic. I have read the Old Testament in the original Hebrew. I have not read the New Testament in Aramaic, only in English. So my knowledge is blah, blah, blah. I was not raised monotheistic. I was raised secular humanist. Ethical Culture Society, East Coast of New Jersey. Definitely a secular humanist group which did not subscribe to any particular deity concept. So there's my answer. Maybe. If you can take your deity concepts awfully lightly, there are good things in many of what the prophets have said. However, I wasn't there when they said that. It got written down much later, similar to the words of the Buddha. Second Conclave did that. So I'm not sure what the original prophets, such as Jesus and Muhammad, said. I'm not even sure what the Buddha really said, since we have no recordings of that. I can take my best guess. I can make a working theory, but I cannot tell you absolutely for sure what anyone said, even if I was there, since we tend to remember things mildly skewed. Next question. And that was a good question.
Okay. Is the awakened consciousness that arises in lucid dreaming related to rigpa? When is there rigpa in lucid dreams?
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by the awakened consciousness in lucid dreams. If you are referring to you, the person who wakes up in a dream and knows you're dreaming, that is an emanation of rigpa, just as this is, just as you are today. Rigpa is the seer, that which looks out from behind your own eyes, without the pagchas. A pagcha is sometimes called a kind of a demon. It's also a glitch in your channels. It's also a habit pattern. It's a good word. Without the pagchas, the habit patterns that make you who you are, just seeing, pure awareness, pure seer, without what it sees, or who sees, or the habits of previously seen, or the belief systems of what could be seen. And that is the same in the dream time and the awake time. Next question.
Okay, and before we get to that, just to speak a little slower on the question so that our translators can
Got it. Will do.
keep up to our pace. Here's my mother is experiencing lots of hardship related to a chronic illness. She is in a cycle of terror and anguish. What practices can I do for her alongside Western medicine?
There's a couple that come to mind. Simple manis when you're around her will be soothing. Medicine Buddha, when you're around her doctors or taking her to a doctor's appointment, will increase the intelligence of the doctor and the potency of the medications. These two are your best bet. I don't want to overcomplex this. You will find instructions on how to do both of them on my website. There is a tape on how to do, I think Green Tara and Medicine Buddha got stuck on the same tape, and I don't remember what it got labeled. So that's where you'll find Medicine Buddha, and there's definitely a tape on how to do manis up there, including the lungs for the mantra. If you'll not be going there, the lung for manis is, and repeat this after me, Om Mani Padme Hung. Om Mani Padme Hung. Om Mani Padme Hung Hri. And for Medicine Buddha, you can try to repeat this after me. Om Beakenze Beakenze Maha Beakenze Ranza Samo Gateya Soha. Om Beakenze Beakenze Maha Beakenze Ranza Samugateya Soha. Om Beakenze Beakenze Maha Beakenze Ranza Samugateya Soha. For Medicine Buddha, now you have had the lung. I'd say those would be your best bet. Now, if you are highly skilled at remaining in Latong or Trekje, sitting in that state when you are near her would be highly beneficial. But if you don't have the skill to do that with ease, go for the manis. It's easier. Next question.
Ooh, excuse me.
And I'll try to remember to slow down.
Okay. Do beings reincarnate throughout time and we just think it's linear because we're silly human beings?
Yes. However, it is a potential for beings to reincarnate throughout time. However, we have a strong habit pattern of moving through time in a certain direction and at a shifting rate, but a basic direction. When you reincarnate according to your habit patterns, which are contained in your karma. So if your habit is to move through time from the past through the present to the future, you are probably going to reincarnate in the same way, moving from the past into a present of the bardo, into a future life in the normal future. Those who have, through one method or another, stepped outside of the 3 times, who live much of their life in the fourth time are not bound by that habit. Therefore, they might well incarnate here and there in time. What do you think incarnates? That is a better question. We talk about mind stream. Nayanda, would you hand me my little balls? Yeah, would you hand me my balls, please?
Yes, here they come.
Mind stream of cause and effect. What moves through the center balls to make the outer balls move so much? Watch. What is transmitted through the center balls? If you watch a wave, come into the shore with a small bit of driftwood floating on it, the driftwood goes up and down. It only moves a tiny bit towards the shore. A wave is molecules of water bumping into molecules of water, transmitting the energy of motion until the wave breaks and some of the waters roll in and back out. When I speak, a microphone here transmits it through the internet. It comes out of a speaker on your computer. What comes out of the speaker? A vibration of the air. So the air molecules knock into each other from the speaker, knocking. No one molecule moves much, just enough to hit the next one, hit the next one, hit the next one, until it hits a little drum inside your ear, where a little hammer with some hairs on it turns it into puffs of chi, which travel through your channels, through the chakras of form and the chakras of sound back over here. Down through here where it's interpreted to language, down to here where you have feelings about it. What moves? What reincarnates? Wave theory in a country without an ocean and without our mechanical ability to actually see the frequency and amplitude of sound waves by transferring them and interpreting them with a machine, did not exist, so they called it a stream. A mind stream. It's a mind wave. Occurrences bump into occurrences, bump into occurrences, creating occurrences. You're an occurrence. And you in this moment is not the same occurrence as you in the next moment. Something bumped into something and made it. And again, in every moment, you are changed a bit. Mind wave. Moving through time and space. What reincarnates? Can you find it? What moves from, 9 o'clock this morning to now? What moves from yesterday to today? Can you find the mover? That will be the answer to your question. What reincarnates? And how? Each moment creates each moment. Each moment is dependent on all past moments. The future is dependent on all past moments plus this moment. The science of that is called karma. Cause and effect. You may have noticed, however, that sometimes you will experience what appears to be an effect before you experience what appears to be a cause. Such as the pre-Wong fights. Yes, people who have hung around lamas or give a lot of Wongs are familiar with those. The energy goes up before the Wong, and you become irritable, and you irritate each other as you prep. After a while, you get used to it and just laugh at the irritability. But in the beginning, one's often got these pre-Wong fights, especially married couples. So it's the interconnectivity across time and space that is called cause and effect, but it's actually an interlinking. The energy goes back and forth. Reverb. And the result and the cause are not always right next to each other, as you saw with my balls. Karma. Mind waveform. Time-space continuum. Fourth time. Find the awareness that is aware in the midst of all of this. The rigpa, the seer. Next question.
Okay, have it in front of me here. I need a moment. I just had it in front of me. Let's see if we can track it down.
They move.
Yes, they do. There are quite a few questions today.
It's been a while since I've done this because I was traveling.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always get online when I'm traveling because sometimes the places I go don't have good internet or don't have anyone who's good enough at internet to set it up.
Yes. Okay, found it. I recently joined an LGBTQIA online Dharma group. How do you practice the 9 breaths of purification if you identify as non-binary?
Oh, are they doing it with one different way for men and one different way for women? Being non-binary myself, I've never quite gotten it that way. My teacher generally taught it the way where you start on the right. And that works for me. Frankly, my impression is it doesn't really matter which side you start on, as long as you do it correctly. With the visualization. So, do it however it feels right. In general, when you look at the old Tonkas, those of Tara have their legs in the same position as those of Medicine Buddha. Tara is considered a female archetype and Medicine Buddha is considered a male archetype. So all these bits, which you will find more strongly in the Bon, where the women do it one way and the men do it another way, how you put your legs, which legs on top, how you do the 9 breaths. My own personal teacher didn't think that was anything of importance. Yeah, I discussed it with him. And he referenced the old Tonkas as his reason for thinking that. Now, we were looking at Buddhist Tonkas, not Bon Tonkas, so I can't reference this to the Bon Tonkas. But my personal impression, I've always done it the Guy way. And it works. I am definitely female. Well, I'm non-binary, but physiologically I am female. I menstruated. I have tits. I have an innie. So I would say, try it both ways in this case, as far as male-female goes. Try it both ways and see which way suits you. I was trained by guys. There were no other women around study. Well, there were no other, there were other women around, but they were much more advanced than me. They were teachers. They mainly did it the Guy way, what is traditionally considered the male way. And I kind of went with that. Seemed to work. That's the best answer I can give you for that one. Next question.
Do the winds and energies in the body sometimes change directions or get stuck?
Hell yes.
How are mood changes affected? Can stuck energy lead to tension?
Oh yes, and pain. The chi moves through the channels. From large and very small traumas, even the little trauma of not being able to find your car keys for 5 minutes, a very minor and common trauma, will leave a scrinch in the channels. So the chi may be equated to air or lung. Lung means breath, air, moving through the channels. That one's no good. I may need a new balloon in here. Nando, could you find me another balloon?
I'll take a
so
look.
I can show them. They get old after travel.
Yeah, or we'll have to add them to the shopping list. Let me see. Well, here are a couple. I don't vouch for their,
Now, let me give them a try, and if not, I'll just try to explain it with words. But sometimes hearing it is more effective. So here is air moving through a fairly open channel. A little fluffing sound. It wasn't completely open. And that's the emotion you feel when it moves through a constricted channel. Analogize the sound as an emotion. Imagine this as a feeling. See why you don't really like feeling like that? I'm going to leave one out and just carry two. Anything can cause a crick. You're full of cricks. That's what Vajrasattva does. Vajrasattva is like, what do you call it now? Hair conditioner, after shower conditioner, so you can get the comb through. Goes through your channels and soothes them and combs them. All the little ones as well as the big ones. So it smooths and soothes them out so that it's less likely to make that noise at you as the chi runs through it. When you do Tsa Lung practices, you are running the chi at a rather amplified amount and rate through certain channels. If you have a constriction in those channels when you do that, as a feeling, as an emotion, as a stress, very uncomfortable. This is why we do a full, extraordinary Nundro before attempting Tsa Lung. Dzogchen works a bit differently. In Dzogchen, you continuously learn yourself to relax your cricks. However, sometimes there's a stuck one, and then you do some Vajrasattva. Or there's another Rushen, inner body Rushen, where you work with the cricks in the different chakras one at a time. But yeah, you got lots of cricks. Matted bits. Most of us looks like a head of long hair that's been riding on the back of a motorcycle without a helmet all day. You definitely need some cream rinse to get a comb through that internally. That's why everybody, from the highest lamas to the simplest newbies, does Vajrasattva most every day to get off the day's crap. You will get into crap every day. You will think negative thoughts at yourself and others. You will say suboptimal words. You will perform actions which may not be skillful means. We all do. No guilt. Guilt is not what you do with those. A bit of Vajrasattva to whoosh it on out. It's like after a hard day doing stuff, you want a nice hot shower, right? Or a cool shower if it was a hot day. You want to get that sweat off. Vajrasattva is the same thing in the evening. If you are not knowing how to do Vajrasattva, it is very simple. Google Vajrasattva Yab Yum. Get an image. Imagine that image above your crown chakra. Imagine from the mantra going around in the hearts of the image, clockwise. The Dutsi gathering and going down and coming out their secret chakra where they're in union. The bliss of orgasm, of union, flowing into your crown chakra. And from there, spreading into all your other chakras, a liquid, smooth, milky white light. Is there a white vase over there?
Yes.
You can take what's in it out. Okay, now let's see if I can hold this up. This is milk glass. I don't have a flashlight to shine, but if you shine a torch through it, it has a very warm, milky color. That warm, milky, translucent, but not completely transparent, smooth white of the texture of cream rinse, of air conditioner. That's what the light is like. If you have a piece of milk glass in your house or see one in a second-hand shop, hold it up to the light and you'll see the color I'm talking about. That runs through you. And all of your little glitchies are seen as centipedes and scorpions and poisonous spiders and other creepy crawlies. And they're flushed down and they come out your eliminatory orifices. That is your urethra and your anus. Not your vagina. It is not an eliminatory orifice. It's an incoming orifice. But your urethra and your anus, it comes out and it falls down into the center of the earth where Yama, god of the dead, is it Yama or Yamantaka? Yamantaka, slayer of the god of the dead, with a bull's head, is there with his mouth open, and they fall into his mouth and he eats them up with great relish, because for him they are his natural food. And they're all gone. For a more detailed instruction of how to perform this, go on to the website, and I have given a full sadhana for use by itself, not as part of Nundro, for use after a hard day, where either people have yelled at you or you've yelled at them, or things just haven't been moving smoothly and you're feeling glitchy and like that, the emotional sensation of that squeak, use it there. I'll give you here the lung for the short mantra. Om, Benza, Sato, Hong, Om Benza, Sato Hong. Om Benza Sato Hong. It goes quite fast. Om Benza Sato Hong, 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 Benza Sato Hong. A round of that with the visualization, flushing it. It's a really good idea of an evening after one of those days. Now there's also a long mantra. Om Benza Sato Samayam I cannot do that one slowly, I'm sorry. Every time I try to do it slowly, I get tangled up unless I've got it written down in front of me. It's so input from Nundro. I did 2 Nundros. I've done a couple of 100,000 of those. So that I just can't make it slow down. So you'll have to get the slow lung from the website on the teaching. Next question.
Yeah, it's more of a medical one related to practice. Let me pull it up here. I have chronic daily migraines, treating with acupuncture. Most practices make them worse. Are there any practices for a rising lung disorder like this?
Real Dzogchen. It's the only practice where relaxation, non-stress, and non-striving are necessary. You might want to try it. End stage Mahamudra is the same thing. Tomorrow's teaching will be end stage Mahamudra. Beginning Mahamudra, no, it's going to set off your headaches. There's too much focusing and tightening involved as you learn to tighten and loosen. I don't think you have a choice. The only thing that may be open to you as a practice is completion stage Dzogchen, not Dzogchen light, the real one, the cuckoo song, the little hidden grain. I actually have that text here and it's pretty short. Give me a moment for finding. It's not there, but I want to save my place there. Yo. That's Mahamudra. Where's Dzogchen? That's probably in there. There we go. By Vajrasattva, whose Mahamudra teaching is what's coming up tomorrow. Svasti. Palgipal. Supreme pinnacle. This is the peak and the end of all practice. This is also the beginning. This is where the beginning is the end and the dragon swallows its tail. Chundinde Kuntuzangpo, homage to the transcendent, victorious Samantabhadra. Kusung Tukchi Dorji. Shempo Latsagsalo. Vajra body, speech, and mind of great bliss. The intrinsic nature of variety is non-dual. Variety. stuff, feelings, thoughts, infinite millions of them. Every leaf on every tree is different. The intrinsic nature of this vast variety of phenomena is non-duality. The perceiver, what is perceived, and the act of perceiving have absolutely no separation. Together, an occurrence, setting off the next occurrence and the next occurrence. And that is all, and it is not separable. No bit of it separable from any other bit. An entirety in and of itself, non-dual. But particularity is free from complexity. It's actually very simple. Isness, as it is. Nothing needs to be done about it or made of it. Each bit fits into each other bit. You don't have to make it do that. So relax and leave it be. Suchness is non-conceptual, but Samantabhadra is apparent in form. All this, when you're not trying to make something out of it, when you're not trying to think about it, define about it, fit it into a pattern, when you're not constricting around it with point focus, when you actually relax and completely let go, there is Samantabhadra, primordial Buddha, in and as the entire pattern, not separate from it. Singularity and duality together. No separation. Having abandoned the malice of striving, since it already is so, one already has it. Through being spontaneously present, one leaves it as it is. Just this short text. Completion stage Dzogchen, and this text is both Bon and Buddhist. It is, in some legends, the first Dzogchen text that a Bon teacher gave to his Buddhist teacher friend, and brought the Dzogchen into the Nyingma line. According to some legends, there's a lot of legends. You've heard all the stories of Guru Rinpoche's life, yes? He did this, and there's Mandareva, and there's Yeshe Sojel, and there's these teachings, there's those teachings. I have a very favorite biography of Guru Rinpoche. Let me share it with you. High above North Urgyen in the sky, there arose a golden double Vajra. It shone forth with multicolored rainbow light, causing many sentient beings to have many perceptions. End of story. Do you understand? For practice of Dzogchen, you have to not try. Completion stage Dzogchen. Oh, there's a lot of Dzogchen Rushens and long days that help you develop the ability to let go. Because not everybody can do it right away. But since you are unable to practice anything involving concerted focus, perhaps you can practice completion stage Dzogchen, which is an utter relaxation. You just sit there. Sit down. Don't even worry about your channels being alignment. Just have a seat. relax. Don't sit any particular way and don't do any particular thing. Just relax. If your thoughts want to think stuff, let them think stuff. You know where they are, what they are. You've seen that. Just relax in your awareness. You are naturally aware. It is your own natural state is to be awake and aware. You be looking out from behind your own eyes. You always have been. So don't change anything. Just sit there and relax. Don't fuss. Don't entertain yourself. Don't read a book. Don't work on something mentally like your to-do list. Don't make plans. Just relax. 5 minutes. Do it often. Natural mind. You see, if enlightenment, if completion stage were something you had to build up to, a structure you had to create, it would be impermanence because it would have a beginning. Anything with a beginning will end. Basic Lama Lena. Nature of impermanence, four turning minds, Lodro Namji, ordinary Nundro. Impermanence. If it comes together, it's going to come apart. If it's built up, it's going to fall down. If it's acquired, it's going to get lost. So if enlightenment was any of those things that you had to strive for and acquire, it would be impermanent. And what's the point in that? It would wear off. Like all those ordinary cities that are so very annoying when they wear off. Like the reason why a yogi, should he find himself able to fly, is strongly advised not to fly over large bodies of water, especially if he can't swim. Lose more yogis that way. Do you understand? Try relaxing. Next question.
There are less questions and a couple of requests. The Russian audience would like a repeat of the Medicine Buddha mantra. There was a slight technical glitch over on that channel.
Om. Bekenzi. Bekenzi. Maha. Bekenzi. Ranza. Samu. Gateya. Soha. Om Bekenzi, Bekenzi, Maha Bekenzi. Ranza Samu Gateya Soha. Om Bekenzi, Bekenzi, Maha Bekenzi, Ranza Samu Gateya Soha. You will probably find it written if you Google it. It is a common mantra. Medicine Buddha is this kind of blue. Deep lapis lazuli blue. The blue of the middle of the sky at dawn at very high altitude, which is a dark blue like this. He looks just like the regular Buddha, except he's blue. Do I have another question?
Another request, rather. Let me find it. It has to do with the end of the Vajrasattva Yab Yum practice. If you could explain the end of it again. You also mentioned explaining this in one of the beginning Treksha groups earlier this week. So
at the end,
yeah.
When you are so clear as to appear to yourself as a crystal clear vase, as if you are made of glass and contain nothing but clear, transparent light, this dutse that is coming down, it fills you. You're full of it and you're made of crystal. Once you come to that point, then you say the short, usually we're using the long mantra for this. But if you're using the short mantra, just say the short mantra again and feel that that light shines out for you and purifies all living beings in the universe, so that you are all like a crystal vase with the short mantra, Om Bemza Sato Hum. Then allow all those crystalline beings to absorb into your form, your crystal vase of light. Vajrasattva itself absorbs into your, that happens first. Vajrasattva itself descends and absorbs into you so that you are Vajrasattva as a crystal vase of light. Then you purify all living beings and absorb them into yourself. Then you absorb into the seed syllable in the heart. The seed syllable in the heart absorbs into itself and vanishes. And you rest there in utter relaxation of no-thingness. Next question.
Is it okay to do Treksha while being high on weed?
It is okay to do Treksha while being high on weed, while being drunk, while being absolutely sober, while hanging upside down from a trapeze, while engaged in sexual congress with one or many people. I cannot think of any circumstance under which it is not okay to do Treksha. In fact, according to Jangchup Dorji, teacher of my teacher Wangdor Rinpoche and also of Naunki Norbu Rinpoche, whatever you're doing, while you're doing it, recognize innate nature of mind. According to Garab Dorji, at all times and on all occasions, no exceptions, all occasions, notice the already known Dharmakaya nature of mind. Yeah, sure, why not? But do it sober also, not only when stoned. Next question.
I've heard you say that Treksha creates much gewa. How is that so?
Consider the nature of gewa. To do so, consider the nature of digpa, its opposite. Consider what it feels like when you get in a yelling match with another driver. How do you feel after that? Tight, constricted, stressed, yeah? So does he. Rigpa is adding stress, constriction, tightness to the channels, making them squeak. It can be done with thought. If you start twirling on a grouch, say you start thinking about what's going on in the news. Blah, 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 blah. You're going to tighten up. Yes, reading the news can be rigpa. Doesn't have to be, but it can be if you take it in and hold it and cause it to tighten you. Tightness is rigpa. When you're tight, you're going to react stressfully. You're going to be off center. You're going to end up sharing your stress with somebody else who's then going to be stressed, and you're going to sort of have this reverb going around of stress and tightness. Rigpa. Creating the karma for more stress and tightness. We don't like that as sentient beings. We like happy relaxation rather than misery and stress. We do many things that are counterproductive to get happy relaxation, such as shoplifting, because it will make me happy to have that thing I can't afford. You think. Stress. Stress to the shop, stress to you. And even more stress if you do happen to get caught. Rigpa. Rigpa of mind, rigpa of speech, rigpa of action, of body. Gewa is the opposite of that. It is relaxation. It's not sludgy, it's not limp relaxation. It's happy, joyous relaxation, which is what practicing Dzogchen causes, isn't it? For all you Dzogchenpas who actually practice it. A form of joyous and happy relaxation arises. And you share that with others. Oh, sometimes you're tired, sometimes you have a grouch, you're people. But still, underlying it all is a sort of a open-minded, open-hearted relaxation, which is not limp and sludgy, but dynamic, dancing, and sparkly. And this is why so much Gewa is created by the practice of Trekchö. Feel it. Now, the fake practice of Trekchö is not what I'm talking about, where you're all tight and tense and you're really trying to practice Trekchö. That won't work. Relax. Or do an intense visualization of Tantra through to the end, such as Purva. And at the end of it, after the intense focus on the visualization, the lights go here, the lights go there, this happens, that happens, for as long as you're doing it, maybe an hour, then you finally let go. See, it absorbs into the seed syllable absorbs into itself, and it's gone. It's like the kind of relaxation you get physically after chopping a pile of wood. Remember that feeling when your muscles are all tired? You've been chopping a pile of wood. Now you got wood set up for a while. It's all really nicely there. You got a satisfaction with a job well done. And you sit down with a beer. So, if you're having trouble relaxing, use a sadhana to help you. Next question.
We are a heterosexual couple from the same Sangha, but we can't practice together. Everyone has their own understanding, etc. Should we do sadhana together or separately?
It depends on whether or not you're doing the same sadhana. I think it would be very distracting to be doing different sadhanas at the same time in the same room. Whereas if you were both doing the same sadhana, you might as well do it together. The sadhana is not about how you understand the meaning of it. I mean, you're reciting in Tibetan, you're reading in English underneath it so that you know what you're saying, but you're not discussing it with each other, so I don't see how you distract each other while doing that. I may not quite understand your question. It's a new one for me. Generally, people in the same Sangha seem to, more or less, see things in similar ways. Well, not necessarily. Rinpoche had students at the same time he had me who saw things very differently from me. I tend to be open-ended. Some tend to be close-ended, like things sort of a little bit solid, more scholarly type. That's okay. We were both right. Of course, we were both beginners, so we hadn't a clue about that and used to argue about it. Anyway, either amplify your question more or accept the answer that I was able to give. Next question.
I called upon Tara per your suggestion. It was very intense and overwhelming. How do I help myself not run from mystical experiences?
Get used to them. People tend to run from what scares them. That never works. It just chases you. Running from things you fear, since they're inside of you, is quite futile. There is no inside or outside. If you run, it's going to chase you, or you're going to have the experience of believing it's chasing you. And if you chase it, you're going to have the experience of believing that it's running away. This is just basically how our mind streams, our mind patterns work. Absolutely futile to run away. However, I'm not sure how to convince you of that, except suggest you look at the patterns of running and pursuing over time of small, unimportant things. For example, decide to avoid chocolate. Don't eat chocolate for a week. And just look at how many chocolate arises in your presence. It's chasing you. Go on, run from chocolate. See what happens. That's the best I can think of for you to learn that running from things is futile. For psychic experiences to bother you, well, you could be a little bit gentler with yourself when you're doing practice. Not quite so gonzo if you don't want the results. Next question.
Wait, I just had it. Here we go. I am devastated after the loss of a cat I love dearly. She was murdered by a pack of dogs. Could you give advice on how to ease the pain?
Grief's a bitch. in order to ease it, you're going to have to accept it. Grief, in my experience, is the hardest of all emotions to work with. It's Western direction, loss, grief, loneliness. I recommend you, those of you who are not currently grieving, I recommend you practice working with emotions before you need it. First, your cat will experience bardo and reincarnation. Whether again as a cat or as something else, I don't know. You may wish to take steps such as offering light where her food bowls were, places she liked to sit, she or he, places where you were familiar with it. You can go to the dollar store and get these little votive candles, battery operated, so they won't start a fire, and light them in all those places. You can also say manis and Amitabha mantra, Om Ami Dewa Hri, Om Ami Dewa Hri, Om Ami Dewa Hri, for her. Sometimes doing something for the deceased helps. The only way, however, to release an emotion to its natural state is to actually accept feeling it. And that's hard with grief, but it can be done. Feel it. Accept the feeling. Accept that there will be grief. Accept that there is loss, that you will not pet her again, physically. Feel it as intensely as you can. And don't try to make the feeling go away. Dzogchen method. So I gave you a K-Rim method of doing mantra for her, which will help, and leaving butter lamps around, at least for the first 49 days. And the Dzogchen method, which is pretty hard to accomplish, but possible, even with grief. And that's the best I can offer you. Try the first method first, the K-Rim. Next question.
I wonder what questions you are still seeking answers to. Any come to mind?
Which ones are the camels and elephants? Next question.
Okay. What can we do when spirits are attacking us and causing us discomfort? Should we approach them with compassion and pray for them, or is there another method?
Hire a professional. I've had a few accidents early on trying to deal with those by myself and gotten yelled at by my teachers. You're not supposed to be doing this yourself. Why didn't you come and get me? It was Yeshi Dorji up in Dharamsala. Wasn't even that big a demon. But definitely a sentient one. You see, the stupid Injis find these really pretty things that look like God's eyes, you know, made of string on 4 sticks and really pretty and fancy. Well, those are what the Tibetans use to catch demons in, to take them out into the forest if they're bothering someone in a house. So Westerners find these things in the forest and they bring them home and hang them on the wall because they're pretty. Oops. I tried to take one that had been causing havoc in a certain room back to the forest. Tripped on a stick when I was almost there and lost my concentration and it bit me. I woke up about 3 days later in Amalab Sang's infirmary, tied to a bed being fumigated with special demon repellent incense. So generally, if you're troubled by spirits, you might want to get a professional in to do a house cleansing or something like that. A local yogi. No, I don't do those right now. I'm a little too old. They take a certain amount of life force energy to pull off. That's why you make nice offerings to whoever does it, because it takes a lot of energy to do it properly. If it's on you and not the place, you can get the professionals in India. You send them a scrap of clothing. They make an effigy of Tsampa of you, and then they get it off that way. But yeah, first thing I'd say is if it really is demons, dooms, or not dooms so much. Drees. If it's Dree of the class of demons, I'd hire a professional. If it's a doom or a dude, I'd do Vajrasattva, because it's inside, not outside. Or Dzogchen if I was good enough at it. Yes, you should have compassion for them, just like you have compassion for tigers. That doesn't mean you pet them. You can do land spirit offerings if you think it's a land spirit. Really, it depends on what kind of thing it is that's bothering you. If it's inside, purba. If you're pretty sure it's outside, you can try praise to the 21 Taras. You don't want to harm it. There's reasons why tigers are a protected species. But you don't want to pet it. So yes, have compassion for it. Yes, it's within the zone of all sentient beings. If it's a Dree, not if it's a Doong or a Dude. These all translate as demon into Western. And I'm not even going to go into the Rolongs. Zombies. I don't think you're being bothered by a zombie. They're fairly rare around here. So yeah, either consult a professional. If it's a Dree. If it's a Doong or a Dude, you can do any form of internal purification such as purba. Orba's very good for doons and dudes. Vajrasattva is really good for parchies. And Tara's always useful, inner or outer. So if you're not sure, go with Tara. Next question.
I saw Tuxi Rinpoche in my dreams even before knowing he really exists. Why so?
Past life connection, dear. He was quite a great Lama. He's the one that my teacher, Nundro Rinpoche, carried out of Tibet on his back. And they were very close throughout their life. He was one of my teacher's teachers. So you have a connection with him. You should look into his lineage. Next question.
There was one moment. My father shows signs of dementia, which cause him an aggressive outburst that are harmful to himself and other people. Western medicine has no answer. How to help him?
I presume he's on those Western medications that may be partially helpful. Even though there's no cure, there are things that mitigate the symptoms. For this, when he is agitated, you might try manis. It is the basic, we use it for colicky babies. It's a basic soothing mantra. It does more than soothe, but among the things it does, it soothes and relaxes. So you might try humming that around him, especially when he's feeling some agitation. Next question.
There was... hang on. Is there a practice we can do to counter the spread of angry and destructive movements in one's country or in the world?
Part of this is a reaction to the mamos. Gaia's immune system. We're overpopulated. Chenrezig or Tara practice. One of these two. Probably 21 Taras, specific, certain ones of those are specific for this. For angry madness proliferating in the world, which it appears to be doing. But we're so darn overpopulated that, and the plagues and the weather changes have agitated everyone. And like most Homo sapiens, when agitated, they take it out on each other. People feel powerless against climate change, against the viruses that are attacking, against the mamos, the plague bringers, the earthquakes, the floods. And as people feel helpless, they look for what they can do, how they can flail, where they can impose their will. And so you have these schisms and movements and wars and tightness. Digpa reacts creates more rigpa. And so it gets tighter and tighter. If you can, spread gewa. However you choose to spread gewa. Open-minded, open-hearted, relaxed, stressless being, gewa. Spread it around by deeds of body, speech, and mind. Perform actions to soothe others. Speak, tell stories that will soothe others. Think thoughts that will soothe yourself and others. Instead of reading the news, read all the happy stories about animals that have found homes. Go read on cats or dogs. There's a lot of happy stories there. Instead of reading the news, choose blogs that are optimistic. Yes, it's okay to check the headlines to see if anything is chasing you. But humans are wired to look for danger. Cavemen. Keep an eye out for the saber-toothed tiger. Somebody's on watch to see if something that eats people is coming this way. So our attention is attracted to danger. This is hardwired into Homo sapien. Now, blogs, social media accounts, newspapers, online, how do they make their money? How do they increase their status and ability in the world? By having more people look at them, by catching the attention. It's called clickbait. So telling you there is a danger here, someone is after you, something is after you, is clickbait. So these things are being exaggerated. Yes, they're happening. They always were happening, but right now with the media, where some kid in Iowa falls down a well and everybody is looking around to make sure there's no wells. Example. There have always been idiots and small groups of idiots doing idiotic things. Fools, idiots. Not mentally handicapped. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about people with perfectly good brains, perfectly functional, who can't think straight anyway. They've always been there. But now we hear about them, and this is the information revolution. It's new. To hear about what's happening in Iowa from New York, the little things, that was never before, but now it's clickbait. If it might make you look, and if it looks dangerous or scary, you're gonna look. So if you're gay, you're gonna look at all the anti-gay stuff, because you wanna know what's chasing you. And if you're anti-gay, you're gonna look at all the gay stuff because you think it's chasing you. And so forth, and so forth, and so forth. This is why I warn you about media. Unless you live through and have memories of the agricultural revolution, which was pretty crazy, and the industrial revolution, which was much faster and still pretty crazy and deadly, it's hard to put this one that you're living through, the information revolution, in perspective, but you need to. You really need to salt what you get from the media. Consider if it's likely true. Maybe. Consider how big it actually is. 6 people with a petition in Iowa. It's not after you. This does not mean not standing up for what's necessary, not standing up for Gewa, open-minded, open-heartedness when the opportunity arises. But don't go picking fights. Let the Egypts do that. What question was I answering? Got into politics.
Yeah, it's easy enough to do with this, but this was the question was countering the spread of angry and destructive movements in the world.
Yeah. Do your own practice. And spread Gewa with a big spatula as far as you can. Are you out shopping? Say something pleasant to the clerk. Compliment the clerk on something about them. How well they're doing their job, the nice hairdo. Find something to spread enjoyment and relaxation. Let somebody who looks frazzled, a frazzled mom, go ahead of you in line, even if her basket is really full. Little Gewas, it'll snowball. And always dedicate the merit, always dedicate the Gewas to all life everywhere. That's the biggest thing you can do. To practice the 6 paramitas for the sake of others. Generosity. Start there. Generosity of body, speech, and mind. Move on to morality of body, speech, and mind. Patience. These are the big ones that focus outward. Nundro focuses inward, perseverance, your own practice. But look at the outward focusing ones of generosity, patience, and morality. Morality isn't about good and bad. Stop sticking sex in there. That's Christian. Oh, I could say things, but I won't. What you want to see morality as is Gewa and Digpa. If it causes constriction, it is Digpa. Tightness, stress to you or others. If it increases the open-minded, open-hearted relaxation of joy, it is Gewa. This is what morality is about, not sin and virtue. People worry so much about sexual morality. Consenting adults, really consenting, really adults, whatever. Just be sure consent is there. Be sure contraception is cared about, because accidental children are Digpa. World is overpopulated, and it's really hard to take care of a kid you didn't really want. That's why accidental children are Digpa. They cause stress and suffering to the mother and the child. That's why contraceptives are so important. You don't want to be having kids unless you choose to have kids. And even then, consider your choice and how it will affect the world and your practice. So don't be all hook and morality into sex. Look at the karma. Look at how it affects opening or closing. That's a thumbnail way of seeing it. Yes, there's other more complex things in the study of karma. But that's not something I can actually have time to go into here about the more details. So there's a ballpark way of seeing whether it's Gewa or Digpa. How does it feel not just to you, but to your entire mandala? For example, if you yell at someone, you might feel better, but they don't. Digpa. Give me another question, and then I think I'm getting close to the end of it.
Okay.
Got any good ones left?
There's been many today. We might remind people that, they can always ask questions by email and how to do
No,
it.
don't get that started. I'm so far behind on my email. Sorry, guys. In group.
A specific question. In the recordings of Nundro Rinpoche teaching the 3 words of Garab Dorji, the Tibetan term Tiganzi is mentioned several times. What is this in English?
Use it in a sentence.
It's sounding familiar but not coming to my mind.
I know, that's what's happening to me too. I need it in context. Nominal aphasia. That one's not coming to mind. I need to hear it in context. Next question. Oops, that one. I'm not perfect.
Is the panther symbolic in Tibetan Buddhism? Last night you came into my dreams and told me I was a queen panther. Any insights?
The panther is not. They didn't have panthers. They had snow lions. Panther is jungle. I have no idea what I meant by that. It was your dream interpretation. I was trying to probably tell you something. What I was probably trying to tell you is you are capable of practice. Unfortunately, this got interpreted into, there we go, yes, trying to encourage you that you were capable. Somehow your symbols of that got it switched to Queen Panther. You are capable of all accomplishments. You are capable of fierceness. Next question.
And Martin mentions Tiganzi in Tibetan is usually a name for contemplation or the Dzogchen state.
Oh, okay. Yes. It is a little bit more than that. Tinganzi. Now I see the context. When you are sitting on the cushion, Dzogchen. Tinganzi is the Dzogchen on the cushion. It is that state where the thoughts don't hook each other. There you go. Thank Martin for that. I'm getting old, guys. My nominal aphasia acts up in all the languages. Next question.
I am currently in a relationship and feel very distant from my partner. How can I feel closer with her? She is not a practicing Buddhist, and we have many arguments about this.
I have no idea. Relationship counseling is not something that I am particularly good at, and my relationships are rather different than yours. I don't know. Give me something else.
Yeah, there were a couple of questions about would you be giving future teachings on Garib Dorji or Flight of the Garuda?
Those I have pretty much completed Flight of the Garuda, and I'm now working on, slowly over time, giving the 8 Mahasiddhas, which are beautiful Mahamudra songs. Same difference. So no, I don't think I'm going to revisit that, having done that so very many times, unless it's in person somewhere. But I've really done that online. And there's not that much time left. You have to realize this. I'm very old. I'll keep going for you as long as I can. But that's not forever. Give me one more.
Okay. A follow-up on Treksha, do I need to have done Nundro prior to joining the Treksha teaching and practice groups listed on the website?
No. I might send you back to do Nundro if you don't get it. But if you are, well, no, I'm not going to say that. If you are under 25, I strongly recommend you do a Nundro. You still can. You have the energy for it. It will set you in good stead, and it will make other stuff a lot easier for you. But if you are over 25, your brain's done growing, let's work with what we've got. Usually we do Nundros in our teen years or very early 20s. It's easy to do it then. Prostrations are no problem. At 50, you're not, unless you are a very unusual athlete, you're not going to do 100,000 prostrations in 3 months. So, let's adapt. You may join the group. If it's not going in, I may send you back to do a Nundro or some part of a Nundro, depending on where you're stuck. We generally, in these ending times, give the highest teaching first. If you get it, great. If you don't, oh, well, let's go give the next highest and see if that one goes in. If you get it, great, that's where you start. If you don't, let's step back another one. That saves time, making those who would have been ripe to get one of the highest teachings start at the very beginning with Lodro Namji and work their way through. It's a bit time consuming. However, we do recommend, if you started towards the end, that you do go back and read a few texts on Lodro Namji. It's important. Lodro Namji, the 4 turning minds, impermanence, death, the workings of karma, the sufferings of samsara, what it means to be human. I didn't give you those in order. It's actually what it means to be human is the first one. To be fully human. Impermanence and death, the sufferings of samsara, and how karma works. 4 points of knowledge that you should all read up on if you haven't had teachings on. at length teachings on. Because it's really important to understand what it means to be fully human. To have full human opportunities. And that you can lose that in a moment. Not just by death, but by changing circumstances. To really understand what is moving and what isn't. That's impermanence. What changes? What does not? This is important. Also, to understand how we suffer and cause our own suffering. How that happens. What is the nature of suffering? What is stress? What is pain? An important set of understandings. To understand how karma works. Allowing you to feel Forgewa and Digpa. To automatically recognize the feeling of an oopsie. When you understand karma very deeply, how it manifests, how it works, you don't fall into some of those strange dharma rumors like everything's your own fault. No, karma has nothing to do with fault. How could it? What the hell do you think reincarnates anyway? We talked about that. No fault in there. It's not that you, 4 lives ago, killed somebody, so now your death is threatened. It's not your fault to have done that 4 lives ago. No, you don't manifest your thoughts. Yes, your thoughts affect your karma. But no, worrying about cancer does not give you cancer. Stress does not give you cancer. Stress is a contributing factor to illness. All sorts of illnesses. Because stress is hard on the body. When you create digpa, you will experience stress. But it's not your fault. You didn't know that. There's no fault for an error. There's no guilt like in Catholicism with original sin. Yeah, we don't have that. We have original oops. Misperceiving. Duality. Original oops. Like a little baby in its mama's arms, nursing, with its eyes open, and it sees reflected the rainbows from her diamond wedding ring, reflected on the sheets on her shirt. And it reaches its hand and is trying to grab them. That's not wrong or evil or bad. That's oops, the little baby doesn't know how those rainbow projections work. No fault. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the fault and let go of the blame. Don't blame others. Don't blame yourself. Blame is digpa. Let go of the fault and the blame. Generosity of mind. Open-minded, open-heartedness, bodhisattva. You are perfectly capable of this, and this is the key to Gewa. I think this is where I want to end. You all now. You practice Buddha consciousness. Bodhisattva, gone beyond individual consciousness. open awareness, rigpa. Generosity of thought, generosity of speech, generosity of mind. Morality of thought. Wish them well. If they cut you off in traffic, wish they get where they're going safely. Wish all beings well at all times. It will relax you, even the Egypts. Patience of mind. Patience of speech. Patience of body. You'll practice these three to create as much gewa as you can and offer it up, because surely the world needs it while going through this information revolution. It's big and messy. Wandi Nyurduda Chi Sala Gopashu. All beings everywhere. I will see many of you tomorrow for the songs of Birwapa. We are complete.